Okay, we'll get started here. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. We're really happy to have you. We have our host, Clarissa Corbin, here today. She is an accomplished instructor, PMP certified project manager, and business owner with over 25 years of industry knowledge, designing and delivering impactful learning experiences for government agencies and Fortune 500 companies. As a PMI authorized PMP instructor at graduate school, Clarissa has trained more than 10,000 professionals worldwide, serving clients such as DoD, NASA, FEMA, the Pentagon, Microsoft, Citibank, and Symantec. Her expertise spans leadership, project management, business analysis, agile methodologies, and emerging technologies, which recent focuses on integrating AI into project delivery. A speaker and thought leader, Clarissa has presented at Project World in Toronto, Canada, the Federal Reserve Bank, the Federal Highway Administration's EEO Symposium, PMI chapters nationwide, and the International Institute of Business Analysis. At graduate school, she's earned multiple Customer Excellence Awards and served as the Instructor Advisory Council. She previously directed Boston University's training track project management programs, managing international instructors across 6 countries. If it involves leadership, project management, or emerging technologies like AI, her finger is on the pulse absolutely and unequivocally. So please join me in welcoming Clarissa.
Thank you so very much for the introduction, Amanda. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. On July the 9th, 2026, which is only a few weeks away, the PMP exam is getting its biggest overhaul in years. And if you're anywhere on this PMP journey, whether you're thinking about taking the exam, you are currently studying for the exam, or if you are already certified and just wondering what has changed, this webinar is for you. I received my PMP certification in 2003 and have been teaching the PMP certification prep class all over the world for more than 20 years. I was certified on the second edition of the PMBOK. The current edition is the 8th edition. So yes, I have been around for a minute. Therefore, I've seen many changes to the PMBOK and to the exam over the years. However, this is the most significant change I've seen to date. Over the next 45 minutes, we're going to break down exactly what's changing, what stays the same, how much it costs, where to take it, and how to build a smart study plan for taking the exam. The last 5 to 10 minutes of this webinar is dedicated to a question and answer session. So as we go through the material, if something triggers a question, please drop it into our Zoom question and answer box, or you can just jot it down for our question and answer time. No question is off limit, although my knowledge may be limited. So if I don't have the answer to a question immediately, I will post an addendum with the video recording answering any remaining questions. Please note, there is a free cheat sheet that will be provided at the end of the webinar, along with a bonus document. So please stick around. Let's get started by reviewing the topics that we're going to cover today. These are our agenda items. We will discuss the PMI organization, why the exam is changing, the new exam topics, changes to the exam format, cost and logistics, as well as those suggestions for building that study plan. So let's start at the beginning. Who is PMI? PMI stands for the Project Management Institute, the world's leading not-for-profit professional organization for project, program, and portfolio management. Founded in 1969 and based in the United States, PMI sets global industry standards and provides education, networking, and the internationally recognized credentials such as the PMP, among others. Currently, PMI boasts 1.7 million PMPs worldwide in 27 countries and territories. And this is where you will start your journey. First, you'll need to create yourself a PMI account by registering. And this is the PMI site that you see here on the screen, www.pmi.org. Once you are ready to apply for certification or download resource materials, you'll just click on the certifications button and then apply. We'll talk more about this process a little bit later on. So, who is on this webinar? I'm interested to know where you are on your PMP journey. So please participate in the upcoming poll. Shige, if you would please open up the poll for the PMP journey. And everyone, please select an answer. Okay, it looks like a lot of people are curious or thinking about taking it. As a matter of fact, adding those two together, we get about 80% there. I see that some of you are currently studying and some of you are already PMP'd. Welcome, colleagues. Thank you so very much, Shige. So let's talk about why is this exam changing? Why is PMI changing this exam anyway? Well, actually, there are three big reasons. First, every few years, PMI conducts what's called a job analysis. This is a massive global survey. PMI talks to thousands of project managers, PMO leaders, recruiters, and executives to find out what skills do project managers actually need right now. And obviously, the answers to the survey in 2025 look very different from the answers that they received in 2021 when the exam last changed. This analysis is a huge reason for the exam change. Second, PMI has a strategic initiative called Close the Gap. The idea is that project managers shouldn't just be people who fill out status reports and update Gantt charts. Now, no offense to Gantt charts, they're lovely. PMI wants project managers to be recognized as strategic business partners who influence the organizational outcomes. And third, the profession itself has evolved. Artificial intelligence tools are now part of project planning and decision making. And sustainability isn't a nice to have anymore, it's an organizational mandate. And most real world projects use hybrid approaches, not just waterfall or not just agile. So the exam is up to reality. If the exam is the test, then the PMBOK guide is the textbook, and the 8th edition is a significant evolution. Does anyone remember the PMBOK 6th edition? If you do, you remember that it had detailed process guidance with inputs, tools, techniques, and outputs, those famous ITOs that we spent weeks memorizing and then immediately forgetting after the exam. Then the 7th edition came out and it swung totally in the other direction. It was all principles, it was all theory, it was all flexible. But the textbook had lost its practical guidance. Well, the PMBOK 8th edition is the hybrid edition, and I don't just mean methodology. It takes the principle-based flexibility of the 7th edition and it adds back the practical structure of the 6th edition. So you get the 8th edition. The 8th edition has 6 streamlined principles, 7 updated performance domains, 5 process areas that feel a lot like the old process groups, and 40 non-prescriptive processes. The word non-prescriptive is key. The processes are our guidance recommendations, not mandates. The PMBOK 8th edition also contains information like artificial intelligence, sustainability, more modern PMO operations, and some updated procurement guidance. And it works across all of the environments, predictive, agile, and the hybrid environment. All right, here's where it gets real for us. This table that you see on the screen is very important to understand about the 2026 exam. The current exam has 3 domains, people at 42%, processes at 50%, and the business environment at just 8%. Well, guess what? Not anymore. The new exam, the business environment jumps to 26%. That's more than triple. The people domain drops a little bit to 33%, and the process domain also drops a little bit to 41%. So what does this actually mean for you? It means that you're going to see a lot more questions about strategic alignment, about governance, about value delivery, about compliance, and how projects support the organization's objectives. You can't just know how to create a WBS anymore. You need to understand why that WBS is important and why it matters to the business or to the organization. For those of you that are in government and on this call, this is particularly relevant to you because strategic alignment and compliance is already part of your daily vocabulary. We're just making sure that project managers understand that this is going to be part of their everyday work and already part of their everyday work, depending on where they are now. So let's talk about what's been added to the exam. The number one thing that you'll see that has been added to the exam is artificial intelligence. The exam will test whether you understand how AI tools can support planning, estimating, risk prediction, other types of project analytics. If you've used AI to draft a project charter before or to run a risk analysis, congratulations, you're already ahead of the curve. Number two, sustainability and ESG. ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. ESG considerations are now formally on the exam. You'll need to understand how these factors influence your project decisions. Number three, you get value delivery. The exam is shifting from did you deliver the project on budget and on time to did you deliver something that actually mattered to the organization? Did you deliver business value? This is a mind shift. Number four is about enhanced stakeholder engagement. More emphasis is going to be on influence, communication, and relationship building. Because we all know the hardest part of project management isn't necessarily the project, it's the people. Am I right? Number five, financial stewardship. Deeper questions on earned value, budget justification, and cost management will be part of the exam. And the last one, number six, hybrid and adaptive delivery. Now, obviously, it is on the current exam, but what's going to happen on the new exam is it is going to make up roughly 60% of the exam, up from 50% now. If you're not comfortable with Scrum, Kanban, and other types of sprint planning, it's time for you to make some new friends. And one of your new friends will be the Agile Practice Guide. That will be something that you'll need to make sure that you study. I will discuss the Agile Practice Guide in a little bit more detail coming up. So here is our next poll. Please answer, and it is all about what topic surprised you about how the exam has changed or what is being added to the exam. All right, we have the business environment. Yes, jumping from 8 to 26%. This is actually what I see most of the time, and that is true. You need to know more about the business than kind of the everyday tools of managing projects. Think about it like this. When you go into a job now, they usually don't teach you Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, Microsoft Excel, how to use email or Outlook, right? They expect you to know those things. Now, when you go into project management, they're saying, okay, if you have managed projects in the past, you should understand what a WBS is. You should understand what a risk register is. You should understand what a charter is. So now do you understand how to help support the business and our customers to get that value that they're looking for? So yes, they want you to have more of a strategic look on the organization. Shige, thank you so very much for this poll. Let's talk about what your test day will look like. The exam is going to stay at 180 questions, but the unscored questions are going to increase from 5 to 10. So that means out of the 180 questions that you are taking, 10 of them will be unscored. 10 of them will not count toward your final score. And guess what? We do not know which 10 they are. So we must answer every question as if our life depended on it, because baby, it does. Just want you to know that you do have more questions that way. And that, of course, makes sense if you understand why PMI provides unscored questions to begin with. The reason that they do is they want to make sure that the questions are good, that the questions are written well so that you can understand and that you'll be able to answer. Sometimes the questions may be a little vague, or sometimes the questions aren't as understandable. And that's what these 5 to 10 unscored questions are trying to mitigate. You will get 4 hours total in order to take the exam. This is a slight increase from the previous 230 minutes, but here's the catch. Your break is going to shrink. Right now, you get 2 10-minute breaks. In the future, on July the 9th, you're going to just get 2 5-minute breaks during the exam. So you'll need to manage your energy. You'll need to manage your stamina. One thing that I tell my students all the time is that sometimes I believe we fail to understand how long 4 hours is sitting and taking an exam. Therefore, you really do need to practice, and you really do need to sort of pace yourself. Now, another big change to the exam is going to be the question types. The current exam is mostly multiple choice and multiple select. The new exam is going to add case study sets. These case study sets are going to be where you read a scenario and then you're going to answer multiple questions about that case study set. Plus, you're going to have some drag and drop questions. You're going to have some matching questions. You're going to have some hotspot questions. These hotspot questions are where you click on an image in order to answer the question that they're asking you. You're going to have some pull down menus that you'll choose the answer from. And you're going to have some graphic interpretation questions. These will put up some type of picture, some type of dashboard, something such as that. And you'll have to answer questions according to the graphic that they are displaying. The goal of the test now is to test you whether or not you can apply this knowledge in a realistic situation, not just pick the most correct answer like we've done in the past from your choices of A, B, C, or D. I have provided you a bonus handout that goes over the new PMP question types in more detail. Shige, if you would, can you provide this document to them, the bonus document that talks about the exam question types? Let's talk about money next, because money always comes up, right? The PMP exam costs $425 if you are a PMI member. If you are not a member, it's going to cost you $675. Now, I want to take just a moment and do some math with you, because there's also the PMI membership. PMI membership costs you $164 a year plus a one-time $10 application fee. So this adds up to $174. If you then add in the member fee of $425, that comes up to $599, which, as you can see, is still significantly less than the $675 non-member price. So joining PMI before you take the exam is a smart financial move. But I want to tell you this, it is not required at all for you to join PMI before you take the exam. That is not a requirement. I only mention this because membership gives you access to a lot of things. Membership gives you access to download a free digital copy of the PMBOK 8th edition. It gives you access to download the Agile Practice Guide, which is also something that you'll need for the exam. Plus, you get the ability to download other guides that PMI has. Other guides like risk management guides, scheduling guides, government guides, construction guides. So there are many other things that may be of interest to you. In addition, with membership, you can also receive discounts on study materials, invitations to free online events, and access to PMI's artificial intelligence tool, PMI Infinity. I do want to talk to you about this just a tad bit upcoming because it is something interesting that PMI currently has. For my government professionals, I always tell you to check with your agency's training office or with your supervisor because many federal agencies will cover the exam fee and possibly your training costs. So it's worth asking before you pull out your credit card, right? Next, where do you take the exam? There are two options for you to take the PMP exam. The first option is you can go to a physical Pearson VUE testing center. There are hundreds of them across the country and around the world. PMI recommends these options for testing. However, option two is you can take the exam online at your home or at your office through Pearson's VUE on-VUE proctoring system. Both of them are valid, but the online option requires a lot more of you. It requires you to have a clean desk, a pretty clean room, a working webcam, and the quiet environment that a lot of people may not be privy to. If you have children running around, if you have dogs, if you have the garbage truck coming down the street and it's noisy, this environment may not be conducive to you taking the exam at home. Please note, I've taken a lot of exams too, but I typically take them when I'm traveling in a hotel room because it is quiet. No one is bothering me. There's not a lot of pictures and papers and things around. So just something for you to think about because that testing requirement is very rigorous if you do decide to take it at home. So you really want to consider that. You also get 3 attempts to take the exam within 1 year. And yes, each exam attempt will cost you. So let me jump in just a moment to that PMI Infinity tool that I spoke to you about. This is PMI's artificial intelligence when it comes to project management, and it is a significant addition to PMI. This next slide here just highlights the PMI Infinity. As you can see there, the address to get to it is www.pmi.org/infinity. This artificial intelligence tool is free to you if you are a member. However, if you're not a member, you can still try it out. There is a 30-day free trial access if you want to go there and see what's going on. Excuse me. The reason that I point this out is because it utilizes all of the information that we have on project management to help you when you are creating your project charters or you're looking at creating your project schedules or you're doing a risk analysis. The information that it's going to bring back is going to be from project management and project management's best practices. This is what the PMI AI Infinity tool looks like when you open it. And if you are familiar with any of the current AI platforms now, like maybe Microsoft, if you are familiar with ChatGPT, Google Gemini, any of those platforms, you'll immediately notice that the platforms are very similar in structure. So you would just ask it what you needed to, and it can provide you some answers there. So something that you may be interested in just checking out. Again, you do get a 30-day free access. So let's talk about this wonderful application. Many of you may be aware that in order to take the PMP exam, you have to be approved. And to be approved to take the exam, you must first complete the PMP application and be approved through PMI. The eligibility window for you to document your project management experience is 10 years, up from 8 years previously. So what does that mean to you? It is 2026 now. So that means you can go back to 2016 in order to get the breadth of project management experience that you'll need to provide on your application. To get to this application, the first thing that you'll need to do is to create you an account at PMI.org. Now, when you're creating this account at PMI.org, it's going to ask you for personal information like your first name, your last name, your email address, your address. The one thing that I want to point out to you is that I suggest you utilize your personal email address. Why? Because over the years, you may move to different companies and have different email addresses. When you are provided information, they're going to send that to the email address that they have on file. If you don't remember to change that email address, obviously that email information will be going to an old email address that you cannot access. I told you that I have been PMP since 2003. So over that time frame, I have moved a couple of times. Therefore, I have utilized my personal email address to make sure that I keep current with anything that PMI is sending to me or anything that is asking me. And especially when you all are first completing your application and also passing your exam in order to get the information that they provide to you. You'll need to document your education on this application. You'll also need to log your project management experience, and you'll need to complete your 35 contact hours of formal project management experience with a bona fide provider, just like the graduate school. And you'll then submit your application. Please note that it takes about 5 business days for you to receive a response to your application. And your response is going to be one of 3 things. The first one is going to be, yes, you are approved. Congratulations. The second one would be, no, you are not approved, but please note they will tell you the reason why you're not approved. And it usually has something to do with maybe how you wrote up your experience or something that you forgot to put on your application. So they'll let you know and they will allow you time to correct or to add that information. The third response you can get by putting in your application is that you are audited. Yes, your application can be audited. So please make sure that the information that you're putting on your application is truthful. And again, where do you apply? You go to the www.pmi.org site. You're going to click here on certifications. You're going to look for the PMP certification in the list, and then you'll click on apply, and it'll walk you through. What's your first name? What's your last name? What's your address? What is your email address? What is your experience when it comes to projects that you worked on? Where did you go to college? Where did you take your 35 hours of training? I took my 35 hours of training with the graduate school, right? And it just walks you through. Once you are complete with the application, it will then highlight the submit button for you to be able to submit. And again, that's where your 5-day business days comes in. Okay, now that we have talked about what's on the exam, let's talk about how to study for the exam. Your number one foundational resource is going to be that PMBOK Guide 8th edition. If you are a PMI member, as said before, you can download a digital copy for free. Number 2 is going to be your Agile Practice Guide. With 60% of the exam covering Agile and hybrid approaches, this is going to be a must. This can also be downloaded for free if you are a member. Number 3, a great place for you to go is going to be the PMI Study Hall. This is PMI's official digital study platform at studyhall.pmi.org. Again, that is studyhall.pmi.org. It has practice exams, mini quizzes, flashcards, and an adaptive engine that identifies your strengths and your weaknesses. Yes, there is a charge for that. Number 4, and this one is totally free without any strings, you want to download the 2026 exam content outline. It is referred to sometimes as the ECO. You can also get this from PMI.org. Once you click on certifications and go down to the PMP certification, on that page, it will be highlighted that you can download the PMP 2026 exam content outline. This is literally the blueprint for what's on your exam. Make sure, though, it is the new ECO, unless you're taking the current exam. The new ECO's cover page is purple. So for 2026, the cover page is purple. If you're taking the exam before the July 9th timeframe, the cover page is orange. Just wanted you to be able to differentiate between the two. Now, number 5 is PMI-authorized training. You'll need 35 hours from an authorized training provider, also known as an ATP. The graduate school, of course, is an authorized ATP. What is PMP certified training? So this box is checked for you. And a bonus, PMI offers 175 free practice questions through ChatGPT. Yes, seriously. If you have ChatGPT, the PMI Infinity PMP exam simulator is located under the GPTs. On the next slide, I'm going to show you via a screenshot where this resource is located in ChatGPT. So if you have ChatGPT now, you are familiar with this setup, and it is located, as you see there on the left-hand side of the screen, under GPTs. And so it does say the PMI Infinity PMP Exam Simulator. So right here is where you'll get some questions that you can go through if you do have ChatGPT. So let's talk about testing before or after July the 9th. So should you take the current exam before the July 9th timeframe, or should you wait for the new one? Well, here's my honest take on that. If you are already studying, if you already have the current materials and you can realistically dedicate the next few weeks to focused, prepped, and studying time, take the current exam. The current exam is well documented. The current exam has question types that are predictable, A, B, C, or D, right? And there's a huge library of practice resources on the web everywhere. On the other hand, if you haven't started any type of studying or you're thinking about it currently, you most definitely have a longer time frame, and you should plan for the new exam after the July 9th timeframe. Now, here's the most important thing. Both of these exams lead to the exact same PMP credential. There is no asterisk, there's no version 2 label, there is no difference on your resume, on your LinkedIn profile. PMI treats the current and the new exam identically for certification purposes. So you should make your choice based on what fits your timeline and your learning style. All right, we're almost finished. Based on everything that you've heard so far, what's your game plan? Are you going to rush to take the current exam, wait for the new one, or you need more information? Or you're just certified already and you just want to get some PDUs, one PDU for this webinar here, and some virtual snacks. Virtual snacks, anything you want them to be. Thank you so very much, Shige, for putting up that poll. Everyone, please answer. And if you know, virtual snacks have no calories. That's the wonderful thing about them. All right. Okay. Wait and prepare. I do most definitely agree with that. If you haven't done the significant amount of study already, your best bet is to wait for the exam. So it looks like I'll see a lot of you in a new PMP exam prep class that may be coming up soon. I look forward to that. Shige, thank you so very much. Remember, our Ask Me Anything question and answer session will be coming up in a few minutes. So keep posting those questions over in that question and answer box. So where does the Graduate School USA fit into all of this? I'm glad you asked. Our PMP certification training is PMI authorized, as I spoke about before, which means that it satisfies the 35 contact hours that are required and is taught by PMI certified instructors who've been teaching this class for decades. Our instructors don't just teach the material, they bring real world project management experience from government and from industry. If you're not quite ready for your PMP certification prep class, we have some great project management essential classes that can help you to build your foundation. And we also have an introduction to agile project management, which of course will help you with the Scrum, the Kanban, and the other adaptive types of deliveries. Now, another great class that we have that we offer is the AI, artificial intelligence for project management. And since AI is now on the 2026 exam, this course is a fantastic companion to your PMP preparation. For those of you who want a comprehensive path, well, you know what? I would like to know from beginning to end about this project management because I'm going to be doing it every day and I want to get certification later. You may be interested in our project management certificate program. This program is a 6-course series that covers everything from initiating your project to closing your project, with that ability to have additional classes that you choose as electives, being the PMP certification prep, AI and project management, so forth and so on. So you can really get a good comprehensive understanding of this project management. Now, I promised you a giveaway, and I'm a person of my word. The PMP 2026 exam change cheat sheet is a one-page front and back quick reference guide that covers everything that we discussed in class today and just a little bit more. Now, it is going to include a side-by-side comparison of the current exam version with the new exam. You're going to get the new domain weights. You're also going to get key dates, a cost breakdown, and some study resources with links, among other topics. So print it out, share it with your colleagues. This document is the one that's going to save you hours of trying to search for all of this information online. Shige, if you would please, and it looks like you have already, thank you so very much, providing that handout for everyone to have. Okay, we are there finally. We are at the moment of truth. We are at the Ask Me Anything time. We've covered a lot of ground, of course, in these 45 minutes thereabout. And now I want to hear from you. Drop your questions into the question and answer chat so that I can look at them and answer them for you. I'm going to go over here and check it out, see what we have. All right, I got a great question. Is the PMI Infinity tool in an app form or only on the web? Right now, it is on the web, but PMI is looking to make it an app form, just like ChatGPT and a lot of the others. But right now, it is web form only. Another one, is there a time frame limitation on when you have to take the 35 hours of PM training? If I have taken training a few years ago, will it still count? Yes, it will. If you have taken that training years ago, that will still count because it is project management training. Now, moving forward in the future, just one caveat. PMI is sort of changing what they will accept as bona fide 35 hours of training. And moving forward, you do have to go to an ATP, an authorized training provider, in order for them to count that 35 hours of training for you. But yes, if you've taken 35 hours of training in the past, you can use it. And let me say this too, it doesn't have to be just a PMP exam prep class. Maybe you took a bona fide project management class, maybe you took a risk class, maybe you took another class, and all of those classes add up to 35 hours. You can use that as your training. All right, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a PMP exam prep class, even though I suggest that, because not only do you need to know what is on the exam, you need to get all the little tips and tricks that you need to take the exam. Many of my students have been project managers forever, and so they really do understand how to do project management every day. But they will sometimes fail the exam simply because their company uses different terminology than the bona fide terminology of project management. So when a question is asked of them, even though they do it great every day, they may not know how to answer that question because they are not familiar with that particular project management term. So the PMP exam prep class is a great class to take. All right. My most significant PM position once occurred in 2010 to 2011. Should I include this information on your application or disregard? You can only go back for 10 years. So you can only go back to 2016 for your project management experience. Also, my 35 hours was more than 10 years ago. You can still use that. Do you offer a webinar like this for the CPMA certification coming up? Jim, we currently do not have one for the CPMAI. I am doing that certification currently, so I am going to say that we should have one in the future. So please keep looking at the webinar site because that is something that I've had a couple of people to ask about. So you may see me again on that one. For all of you that are not familiar, the CPMAI, this is the Certified Professional in Managing Artificial Intelligence Programs or projects. What certification would you suggest to get after the PMP? Thomas, after the PMP, I would suggest what I just spoke about, that CPMAI. That is the next certification that I would get since AI is so prevalent now, not only in project management, but everywhere else. And the foundation that they have in this class is helpful if you're in any type of industry that is working with artificial intelligence, because it really helps you to understand what it is and how you can utilize it. What certification would you suggest after that? I think is the question that I just answered. Please feel free. Are there any more questions? Some great questions. Thank you so very much. To wrap up, let's finish with your next steps. First, you want to make sure that you download the free PMP 2026 exam change cheat sheet that we just put in the chat for you. Second, if you're ready to start your PMP journey or just to level up your project management skills, head to thegraduateschool.edu and check out all of our project management courses. Our PMP certification training is PMI authorized and designed for professionals just like you. Third, if you haven't already, go create yourself a PMI.org account. Remember to use your personal email address. It is free to create an account, and it's the first step in your application process. So you have to have an account before you can actually apply. I also suggest that you have an account even if you may not look to apply for any of the certifications, because they do have free classes sometimes that they do offer for the people that are registered on the PMI site, even if you are not a member. And finally, share this webinar. If you found it valuable, chances are someone else on your team or in your network will find this webinar valuable too. This recording of the webinar will be placed on the graduate school site within 24 to 48 hours. Everyone, thank you all so very much for spending your lunch hour with me and the graduate school. This has really been a blast, and I hope that you're leaving me with information that you can actually use. Good luck on your PMP journey, whether you take the exam before July the 9th or after. You got this. Everyone, have a great rest of your day, and hopefully I'll see you in a graduate school project management course. Now, I will stay online for just a few more minutes, just in case someone thought of a question that they didn't ask earlier. Okay, it looks like maybe we have all the questions. Again, thank you so very much for your time today. Have a good one and bye-bye.